Hello guys, it's Korah here, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a Korah guides for you guys on the VZ-55 Czechoslovakian heavy tank. It's the only one of its kind in the tech tree, apart from the TVP, of course, which is also a Czechoslovakian tank. But other than that, this tank is actually one of my favorite tanks in the game, and I really want to make a guide on this tank. Now, I was 3-marking this tank on live stream. You guys probably would have seen it by now. And in this tank, I had such a successful live stream doing it. I had almost 4,000 average damage over the course of like 50 games, and like I 3-marked this tank like no problem at all. I had multiple 7K clutches as well, which I will be featuring in future videos as well as Korah clutch videos. But I wanted to release this guide first just to kind of show you guys how to play this tank and how I prefer to play it. And then I wanted to show you guys the clutches and like the highlights of like what it can do in the hands of a good player. So before we get started, just kind of want to go over the tank in general and just like what it really offers. Now, this tank, if you take a look at it, it has a 2-shot gun here, a 2-shot clip. It's an auto loader, not an auto reloader, so you have to be very careful about that. If you want to dump your shots, then you basically have to choose to dump your shots, or you can just shoot once and like reload, like go on a full reload. You can't really reload like one shot after the other, like a cron or something. So it is a slight limitation with this tank. Again, it's an auto loader, not an auto reloader, but it still performs exceptionally well, and I will show you why. So this tank here has 460 alpha per shot. So when you add the 2 shots that you have in the clip, you get 920 per clip. Now, 920 per clip is actually a pretty good amount of damage for how long you have to be peeking to get your shots out. This tank, again, it's only a 2-shot autoloader, so you need to be peeking for around 3 seconds. That's like your interclip. Your interclip is 3.3 seconds, so you only need to peek for 3.3 seconds to dump out like an entire 920 damage, right? Whereas the cron, for example, you have to peek for a lot longer. It's 2.7 times 3, which is, you know, it's actually almost 7 seconds at that point. So you kind of get what I mean. This tank is perfect for peekaboo playstyle. You peek a corner, you dump your clip, and you back up right in time. And then the reason it's also so good is because it's very mobile. This tank is exceptionally fast for an autoloader. Like, for how hard it hits for a very hard amount of damage. For how hard it hits, it is really fast. It almost plays like a heavy imp, where like it's very similar to like an E6. I like to call this tank an E6 with an autoloader, basically. That's just kind of my opinion. Now, this tank actually has a pretty like good balance of a lot of things. It doesn't like, it's not like super OP, but it is very versatile. It does everything well. Now, again, like I mentioned, it has a pretty decent alpha, so the clip potential of it is pretty good. It's very fast, so it's basically the same speed as a Concept 1B, except it has higher alpha. And then in the same time, it's kind of like a 116. It has a lot of armor on the upper plate, but in the same time, it is a little bit, the lower plate is much bigger on this tank, so it's pretty easy to pen the lower plate. It also has a cupola, so it's not really hull down like a cron, for example. Again, a little bit of trade-off. It just takes the best of every tank almost, and just you get back a couple trade-offs, but in my opinion, is super worth it. So this cupola here, you're gonna have to be very careful with this, because this tank, yeah, it's a very good hull down tank, but your cupola is very easy to pen, so you have to be wiggling around back and forth and stuff like that to kind of make it a little bit harder for the enemy to hit that cupola. Also in phase hugs as well, be very careful in phase hugs. This tank, like, yes, it looks like it does very well in face hug because it has a very strong upper plate, but this cupola, the enemy team knows like to aim at your cupola. It's a very like guaranteed pen, so you have to be very careful about that. The other weak spot that this tank really has is a side armor. This tank cannot side scrape like whatsoever, so don't try to side scrape in this tank. You will be penned in the side no matter what. And the worst part about the side here is that all the fuel, like this entire side here, is just fuel tanks. It feels like it. This tank gets set on fire very, very easily. So almost like every second shot that you get in the side armor there, it will result in a fire. That's how bad the fuel tank situation is on this tank. So with that in mind, those are like the really big weak spots. But this tank, despite the weaknesses that I mentioned, it again does very well in almost any situation. It can fight heavies, it can chase down medium tanks even, like it's that fast, and it rotates exceptionally well. And the way I like to play this tank is just, you know, you're almost always going to be the first heavy tank to a certain position. So if you can get to a position, pre-aim a crossing point, get your first 2 shots off, and then rotate and look for like an isolated tank, that's exactly how you should be playing this tank. It's a very good rotation tank, and it's very fast. You will always get to you know, any spot on the map faster than any other heavy tank. So you should definitely be using that to your advantage, especially for some crossing points that are just, you know, like common areas to have like a shootout or like early on in the game. And so with that in mind, just want to go over my consumables real quick before I get into the actual replays. And of course, if you guys enjoy these kind of content, please take your time to smash the like button. We'd really appreciate that. And if you aren't already subscribed, make sure you do so if you want to see more content like this in the future. Like I mentioned, I have a lot of 7K plus Korah clutch games here that I want to upload for you guys about this tank later. So if you guys want to check those out, make sure you guys subscribe to stay tuned. But without further ado here, let's go into my consumables. So if you guys pay attention to this consumable setup, it looks like a noob made this, okay? Like, oh, Korah, come on, what the hell is this? Like, why are you running the small, like, fire extinguisher? That's just such a, you know, it looks very questionable, but trust me, this tank, like I mentioned, gets set on fire, like, 50% of the time you get shot on the side, and you need that extra fuel to, like, a fire extinguisher there. And I just found I just found it to be worth it, to be honest. So in my opinion, this kind of noob setup, it looks really noobish, but trust me, this is, in my opinion, the best way to run the consumables of this tank. Now, if you really are against this like small fire extinguisher, you could just run the speed boost, which is like the standard setup that most people would be using on it. But yeah, in my opinion, it's just personal preference. I find I get set on fire a lot, to be honest, so I kind of prefer the extra fire extinguisher. Now, when it comes to provisions, this tank has, I'm using the food, big food, also the gear oil. Very, very useful, this gear oil, by the way, because it gives you 4 kilometers in reverse speed, which I mentioned earlier. If you can just peek the corner, you nuke somebody and you back up before you can get shot back, it's very easy to have W trade on this tank that way, because you just always win the trade with the 2-shot gun. So very highly recommend that. And I'm using the improved fuel as well for the third consumable, or third provision there. Again, pretty standard, nothing too crazy about that. Now, when it comes to the ammunition, this tank has AP, which is very good. It has APCR premium though, which is also, it's not bad, to be honest. It gets the job done. APCR, yeah, is a bit of a troll shell, but to be honest, most of the time you'll be finding yourself shooting AP in this tank. You won't really need APCR unless you're fighting like a German super heavy. Now, when it comes to the equipment, this is kind of where some interesting things become apparent here. A lot of you guys will know that calibrated is usually, like, most people using autoloaders would use calibrated because you want to pen your shots. That's the priority, right? But for this tank, I'm actually using vents. Vents for me is more worth it on this tank because you have APCR premium, and when you look at calibrated, it only gives you a plus 5% boost for APCR shots. So in my opinion, that 5% is not really going to change anything at all. Yeah, you're going to be losing that 8% on the AP shot, but in my opinion, the AP penetration on this tank is already pretty decent. I don't really find myself needing like an extra 8% on it. So in my opinion, run the ventilations. It will give you higher DPM. Will give you better speed as well, and just like everything will be better on the tank. It just boosts your tank in general. So very, very nice here. Defense system, no surprise about that. I'm using that for everything. Improved optics, also no surprise. Every heavy tank I'm using that for. Supercharge, you guys know I'm a supercharge enjoyer. I run that on everything as well. Now this tank, like I mentioned, it has a really strong upper plate. The upper plate cannot be penned no matter what. The lower plate is very easy to pen though. Also will be penned no matter what too. So in my opinion, just be running the extra HP. I don't think the armor is really going to do anything on this tank. Also, improved control. Like I mentioned, this tank turns very fast. It's a very maneuverable tank, but if you want to really abuse the maneuverability of this tank, you should be using improved control because it helps you rotate faster. You can turn your tank around, go to the other side of the map in much faster time than you would if you were using the other one there, engine accelerator. So I think improved control is definitely the better one. Refined gun, should be no surprises, running on everything. Toolbox, also running on everything, no surprises. And then this one, a consumable delivery system, doesn't really matter what you run, to be honest, because like you said, I don't really have a whole lot of consumables to be using, but I like using the cooldown there because it just gives you faster time to get your repair kits back, which is, you know, there's no need to have the other one. So with the setup that I have, this is more valuable. But apart from that, that's basically my loadout for this tank, and hopefully you guys have a lot of like really high damage replays to showcase to you guys on how I like to play this tank and use it as examples. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So we are on the first game here. It's going to be on Rockfield. Now, one small thing I kind of forgot to mention in the intro here is that this tank has a cool mechanic. It's called the combat stabilization. Basically, it means that you can kind of wiggle back and forth at slow speeds, but it keeps your gun like the gun circle pretty small. So you have a really high chance of being able to hit your shots when you're, you know, zigzagging back and forth at slow speeds. So that's just one small thing I forgot to mention. But other than that, though, as I mentioned earlier in this in the intro, I like using this tank for its speed and getting to positions to pre-aim and crossing early. Now, Rockfield is a very common crossing point is the C cap, and that's exactly where I'm going to be going here, trying to pre-aim anybody trying to cross like the middle of the C cap there to try to go to like the C corner. So I'm going to sit here for a couple seconds here. I'm just going to try to see if anybody gives me a free shot. Now, in the beginning here, I kind of see that there's nobody there. So I start moving up on C. I get the feeling that they're probably going towards A because the fact that my T-54 didn't spot anybody tells me a lot. Now, right away, they get spotted crossing towards A here. And again, this tank, another thing I kind of forgot to mention is the gun depression. This tank doesn't really have that much gun depression. It's only 7 degrees of gun depression. So you are going to have to find yourself like over peaking a lot of angles to try to get your gun down to be able to, like, you know, shoot like that 1-to-1B, for example, that we're trying to shoot there. We have to like fully over peak that to try to get the shot down. But other than that, it's just a small thing to keep in mind. But We are capping C here. We do dump the clip into the 1-1B and we cap C while we're reloading again. And once we're done capping C, we move up to start trying to clip this 1-1B. Now 1-1B is a little bit clueless, to be fair. I don't really know why he's capping B in the middle of the open there. It's a very easy reset for me. And yeah, we've already shot the 1-1B I think like 3 times, and he's already like a one shot for every other tank in the game here. Now, in terms of the greater scheme of things here, my team is actually losing the heavy side, but we do find ourselves an isolated kill. And like I said, this tank is very good at rotating and finding isolated targets. So this object 77 here, he's very isolated. Going to be a very easy clip here. I'm going to just peek it. It's going to be a trade here, but it's going to be a W trade. We're going to take 1 shot from him because he's a single shot tank, but we're going to put 2 in return. Now, if you repeat this process over and over and over again over the course of the whole battle, you will always find yourself in a W trade, and you're going to do very well in general. You're going to have very high damage and pretty high win rate too in general if you continue doing this. So right away, we see Object's trying to back off. Now again, that mobility that we have is going to allow us to catch up to him. He's not going to be able to reverse back in time, and we're going to be able to put another 2 shots into him. Now, I am trying to kind of make it a little bit hard for him to pen, and he does actually bounce us there, by the way. So even if he didn't bounce us, it's still a W trade. We're putting 2 shots into him, and he's only putting 1 into us. So at this time here, we've shot this guy like from 4 shots, 920 alpha each. You multiply that by 2, that's basically like 2,000 HP. We nuked this guy by 2,000 HP, and we only took 1 shot in return. Very, very good trade. Now, we see that T30 here in the back of the map. I am a little bit wary of him because I have a feeling he's going to peek. We do get kind of trolled there by a little bit of ping, to be fair, and the fact that he backs up, but we put 1 back into him. And yeah, again, W trade. We've only taken 1 single shot this entire game, and we pumped up in the top left there. You can see 4.2k damage, so very, very nice. Now, this object is still alive, and I do decide that it's time to clear him. He does actually end up driving towards us. He does pen us here, which is fine. We'll take the 1 shot from him if we can get the kill on him, which is, again, W trade. So, overall, it's going to be a 2 versus 5 right now, by the way. So, it looks really bad on paper, but a lot of these tanks are, like, super low HP, and the WZ, or not the W, but the VZ can easily pick off, like, low HP tank, because, again, it's very fast, very mobile. Now, this 1-1B, kind of clueless here. I don't think he realizes, like, I'm right behind him. I don't know why he's so tunneled onto that other tank that we have, but we do get the kill on him. And now, once we get the kill, I just have to reload my full clip, because, in my opinion, you know, the full clip reload is actually not that long. It's only like 15 seconds between the entire clip. So I kind of highly recommend you guys try to reload the clip as much as you can. Don't really save that 1 shot that you have. You know, it's really not really that worth it. Now we see the Tiger Mouse here. Do get the bounce on him. Actually, we do bounce him, but he also bounces us too. But we get the kill there, and there we go. We've turned a 5 versus 2 into a 3 versus 2, and I can clearly see my E4 is actually winning his 1v1 here. So I'm going to let him do his thing. I'm going to go rotate back towards where like that T30 was. I'm kind of expecting that he's going to start moving up on me now, and I'm a little bit worried about him. So I would rather fight him now rather than get shot by him in the back when I'm not expecting. Now, we find E75, also another easy 1-shot tank, and T30 gets spotted, but he is a 2-shot for us. So because he's a 2-shot, I'm going to take my time to reload my clip again. There's no point for me to, like, you know, go rush him with 1 shot only in the clip. It's just a losing trade. And so we are going to eat the 1 shot there. I kind of timed it to the point where I know I'm going to be able to get the kill on him before he reloads, like, his 2nd shot. And so that's what we're going to do here. Going to go for the initial kill. Also going to try to face up just to make his life a little bit difficult, although, you know, we don't really need to do that anyways. Reload before him. But yeah, that is the first game here. We have a very nice game. 6k game, I think, almost 6.3k, I believe. Or no, 6.5k actually, if you take a look at the battles. Yeah, 6.5k, 5 kills, and 1900 XP, by the way, a huge amount of XP. So yeah, like I said, this tank is very good, and we also get the mastery too. Again, very standard game. We didn't really do anything too crazy this game, but we just kind of, you know, we're able to have W trades, and over the course of the battle, the more W trades you get, the more damage is going to, like, stack up, and you're going to do very well. That's the first game, and let's move on to the second one. Alrighty, so for the second game here, we are on the map Port Bay, and this game's going to actually be pretty interesting. Now, you guys know that Port Bay, like, basically all competent teams will try to go medium side. You know, medium side is a better side on Port Bay. But in this kind of game here, I see that my team is, like, immediately not going medium side. My medium tank itself is AFK. He's in the spawn, not really moving. I'm like, okay, we're going to have to go heavy side and try to look for a kill here. Now, again, the one thing about this tank that I really like is maneuverability and how fast it is. It's very fast, deceptively fast for how hard it hits. And we're going to use this to our advantage here. So I'm going to try to rush to A side here, see if I can find any isolated tank that I can just clip out early on in the game. And so we're going to push through A here. At the moment, we don't really see anybody going towards A. Nobody is spotted. None of the, like, fences have broken or anything like that in the back of A. So I know that nobody's here. So I'm going to assume that they're immediately going towards C, and they also start capping C at this time here. So I'm going to try to use my speed to try to catch somebody crossing towards C a little bit late. If I can get, like, an early clip, will be really nice, to be honest. And that's what I'm trying to hope to do here. So we're going to be full sending it toward the C cap here, just looking for anything that's like lagging behind that we can clip out, and right away we find a 60 TP. Perfect. Now we get a clip. He bounces us, by the way, because like I said, this tank is pretty decently held down if you're hiding the lower plate, and the cupola is not super easy to hit. Now, we basically have almost the same reload as a 60 TP. Like, reloading our entire clip is the same as him reloading one shot almost. So I'm going to take my time to reload the shot here, see if I can reload my clip, and then immediately after I'm going to try to clip him again here. Now 60 TP, you can see he's aiming at somebody, he shoots. We're going to look for that track shot. We get the track huge as well, by the way, and we're going to put another shot into him, and perfect. And max roll as well, 575 max roll. So 60 TP, our maneuverability and our speed there caught him off completely. We caught him to a point where he couldn't even back off of C, and we were able to get the kill on him. Now, this tank that's behind him here, this Skoda here, is no better either. Or Vickers, actually, sorry, is no better either. He's going to be a very easy kill for him. We're just going to push for him here, get a nice easy side shot into him. He's going to shoot us in the side again. Like I mentioned, you have to be careful with the fuel tanks there. But for me, it's kind of worth it to try to get this tank out of the game as fast as possible. He hits us again. It's all good though. I think my team will end up killing him. And now my next target is going to be the FV-4.5. Now I can see this guy, like right before he got unspotted, he started rotating towards me, and this is where the gear oil comes in. I'm going to start reversing because I know that he's like starting to push towards me here. I really don't want to eat a full clip from him. Now he does hit his shot on us, but again, we can get the W trade him because our intra clip is smaller than his intra clip. So it's a very easy, you know, trade that we're able to get. It's not really a good one. He does kill our driver, by the way, or our gunner actually. But us putting the 2 shots into him and only taking 1 from him is essentially a W trade at the end of the day. So we'll take it. Constant 1B, again, very isolated tank. We find a time where he's kind of busy with the IS-4. We put another clip into him, and yeah, like at this time, like we've traded this game perfectly. Like we've chased down the enemy all the way like to their spawn, basically, like, and been able to catch up to them before they can leave the C cap. Again, this tank is just super maneuverable for how hard it hits. And in this time here, we can see Constant's about to die. I am going to try to take the high ground of the map here so I can shoot down on this this 1-1B if he gives it to me. I think there's also a Korah beside him as well, if I believe. Yeah, or ISA, yeah, there's the ISA. So ISA I can see is already kind of suiciding. So I'm going to go ahead and just dump my clip into this 1-1B here. Again, W trade, he bounces us and we put 2 into him. Perfect. Like, you know, you can't ask for anything more for this tank. And like I mentioned, anytime you can just put 2 shots in return and only take like 1 back, that's how you got to play this tank. Just look for W trades at all times. And it's really not hard to get a W trade with this tank because the intra clip is really small compared to how much alpha that you actually have. So it's pretty nice. So we're gonna I'm gonna get a little bit greedy for damage here. I'm gonna go for the 1-1B because he's like higher HP than the Korah. I just want as much damage as I possibly can get here, and this 1-1B has most of the damage. Again, just greedy Korah moment right there, to be fair. But this game is already won. We already won this game no matter what. And this Korah, there's not much you can do as a one shot, so it's all good. And we have a nice another 6.2k damage game here. So again, this tank, like, very maneuverable. You can really use it to kind of like abuse the mobility a little bit, and there's a lot of tanks that will be getting caught off guard if you're driving full speed towards them, basically. And we also got another mastery as well, which is very nice. We'll take the nice mastery. And if we take a look at XP, I think I'm not really sure how much XP we got from that, but it should be a decent amount of XP. I think we got a lot of, yeah, take a look at it, almost 1600 XP. So it's not as high as the first game, but still very decent. And yeah, another good showcase of how to play this tank. Alrighty, moving on to the third and final game of the guide here. We are once again on the map Rockfield, which is the exact same map we played in the first round, just we're on the other spawn of it. But as I mentioned earlier, this tank, I like abusing it for its mobility and being able to get to a position to pre-aim the crossing early. So what I'm going to initially try to do here is try to head toward the C-cap. Again, I'm just trying to look at if I can see like an easy way to shoot the C-cap crossing, because that's kind of what I'm looking for. So as we're driving towards C here, I'm just going to continue moving up, and I can see my teammates are like, a couple of them are going towards A, so we're not like actually fully stacked towards C here, which is going to be very important to note. So we can't really fully commit to see if the enemy comes to C. Also, the bat chat spots us, by the way. So I actually end up taking a free shot here, which is all good. I kind of changed my pathing as well because we get spotted. I kind of have a feeling that somebody's in the bush. I was trying to catch the bat chat, see if he's in the bush in front of me there, but he ends up being in the bush towards like the A side. However, this 140 gets spotted in the exact same position I thought the bat chat was initially in. So we're gonna do to this 140 what we were like trying to do to the bat chat initially, and yeah, just a free clip basically. So 140 kind of makes a mistake here. He overextends a little bit, and we just get a free 2 shots into him basically, and yeah, we'll take that for sure. Now, once we get those first initial 2 shots, I'm going to go towards the C side here, see if I can trade a heavy tank on the C. Maybe this VK if he stays around for a little bit too long. But he does actually end up driving forward here, so we kind of missed the window of opportunity. But maybe the 183 we can shoot him. However, the 140 decides to drive into us, and yeah, he dies very quick. So we get the kill on the 140, and we also were able to get another shot on the 183, which is a very nice shot to be able to hit, a nice max roll as well. But in the grand scheme of things here, you can see that my team is actually overall losing the C fight here. So instead of trying to win the C fight, I'm going to try to just salvage the C fight as much as possible and try to just farm off of this TVP who's basically going to die. There's really nothing I can do to save this TVP here. All I can do is just try to farm off him, and we're going to try to target the E100 and the VK as well. Now, I mentioned this tank is, the way you want to play this tank is always for W trades. And the reason I shot the VK there instead of the E100 was because I was a little bit worried if I over peak for the E100, I might get shot by the VK and it just won't be as good of a trade. So in this situation here, I'm just trying to look for trades again. I really don't want to take too much damage. VK drives into us. We were able to track him, and he also bounces, by the way. I think he tried to shoot us in the lower plate there, but again, the way we were angled there was pretty difficult for him to pen. Now, this is where the gear oil comes in. The reverse speed, like I mentioned, guys, is so good, and we were able to actually bounce that E100 shot because we were able to back up in time. Like, I saw that E100 moving up, and I knew he was going to peek me, and so that's why we backed up in time to be able to avoid him. Now, Mura gets a little bit nuked here by the Yo, and I was going to go for the Yo initially, but then I see this Batchat kind of overextended, and I'm deciding, okay, I'm going to go for the Batchat first because he's going to be a bit of a pain in my side here, and he also has a huge 1v1 advantage versus my Mura, so I don't really want my Mura to completely lose that 1v1 there. I'd rather try to shoot the Batchat as much as I can to kind of like make my Mura survive a little bit longer, and I think we do that. So Batchat decides to end up running away here. Now, I mentioned VZ has really good mobility, but the mobility isn't really good enough to chase a light tank around a rock. Now, me and this Mura are going to try to kill this Batchat together. However, I think my Mura is going to end up losing the fight versus him. I think he's going to die in just a second, and yeah, he does die right here. So this is going to be a situation where we have mobility, but it's not enough to chase a light tank. So what I'm going to end up doing here in this kind of situation, I am actually going to use my mobility to escape and rotate out. I'm going to reset my position completely. I'm going to give up on chasing this Batchat. I'm going to still pre-aim him so that he can't like peek me for free here as I'm driving to like away from him. But we are going to reset our position and kind of play like towards our advantage here. So I'm going to take a nice little position in the enemy spawn here. I know that we have caps, by the way. I know we have A and B. So the enemy team here is going to be forced to make a move. And when they make that move is when I'm waiting to isolate this VK who's a one-shot here, because I know he's going to have to make a move as well. The game is very close. Yo's starting to drop. The second the Yo drops, I know that the Yo can't cover the VK anymore. So there's going to be a perfect time for me to peek the VK and get the kill on him. Now the Yo is also, again, like I'm pretty hull down here. I'm able to just peek him hull down. We get the nice shot into the Yo here, and now it's 800, almost 900 cap for us. So we're going to win this game basically no matter what at this point. So I'm going to start pushing his Yo here. My idea here is to try to ram the Yo full speed to make him a guaranteed 2-shot so that we can get the kill on him. So that's what we're going to do. Going to full speed ram him, give him like a little bit of a love tap there, and then we're going to back up and get the kill on him as well in just a second. And yeah, there we go. So again, very simple stuff. Like this game wasn't like a very fancy game, but we just played it very well. We always go for the W trades. We always went for the situations where we can get 2 shots in, and if possible, take 0 or just 1 shot back in return. Again, the more W trades you have this tank, they add up, and you can see 6.2k damage of added up W trades right there, and it's also a mastery. So this game was a perfect example again of just how to play it and how to use your mobility. We used our mobility a lot in this game to, by the way, pick isolated targets. At first we went for the 140 and then we went for the Batchat, and like we were able to kind of isolate people one by one, and then the VK and stuff, and reset our position. So that's kind of how I like playing this tank. Just always use it to reset your position. That's how I believe you should be using it. And the more you reset your position, you just have such a punishing clip that if you can isolate a 1v1 at any point like in the game, you're always going to win that trade no matter what. And this tank can hold its own very well. Alright guys, so we reached the end of the video here. Just wanted to kind of summarize a couple of points that I've been kind of like going over throughout the video, just in a couple seconds, just kind of like, highlight it to you. But basically this tank is a jack of all trades. It's very maneuverable, which is like the most important part about this tank, is just the speed and the mobility and the fact that you can rotate anywhere with it. It can almost play like a medium tank with how fast it actually goes. It has a lot of armor for how fast it goes as well. Like you get a lot of bounces from this tank, especially the upper plate, the turret. It's very hard to hit, and just the cupola is like the only weak spot you have to kind of worry about when you're playing hull down, and obviously the lower plate as well. Pretty big weak spot too. If you can hide that, then you're pretty much very hard to pen. And it has a very punishing clip. Like it hits very hard, and for the amount of like like damage that you do, you only need to spend 3 seconds to do it. So it's very like small amount of time in the intro clip for how much damage you actually get. And the gear oil as well, the fact that you can reverse out after you dish out that damage, you can back out really fast. So these kind of qualities, in my opinion, make this tank very, very strong. It is very similar to 60 TP in a lot of ways, because 60 TP also hits very hard and has gear oil too, which I think gear oil on heavy tanks that hit hard is just huge. It makes a huge difference, and you almost always will have W trades in this tank. Again, the key to this tank is just looking for W trades. If you can hit your opponent for like 2 shots and you only take 1 back in return, or take 0 if possible, then you just gotta repeat that process multiple times. You know, and you saw with the replays there, almost every single replay that I showed you guys, I'm doing that exact thing. I'm just looking for W trades, and eventually enough W trades add up to a point where you can get easy masteries in this tank, and just 6k games is not super hard to get. So in my opinion, very OP tank. Really like it. It's just really enjoyable to play, and the gun is super accurate as well. I didn't really mention the gun too much, but with the combat stabilization mechanic that the gun has, it's kind of hard to miss shots, to be honest. If you take your time to aim the shot, it is almost always going to go exactly where you're aiming it, and it just makes your life super easy, and it's just an enjoyable tank to play. One of my favorite tanks in the game at the moment. So hope you guys enjoyed this guide. If you did, greatly appreciate it if you take your time to smash the like button, and if you aren't already subscribed, please make sure you do so. I do have, like I mentioned earlier, I do have a couple high damage 7k games to showcase for you guys as Korah clutches, featuring this exact same tank as well. So if you guys want to check those out, make sure you guys are subscribed. But without further ado, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.